It was a show that celebrated everything human. Peace and love? Check. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll? Definitely. But Hair also celebrated racial diversity, the beauty of the naked human form, environmental stewardship, and even follicle liberation. Welcome to On Broadway, a Maven's Guide, where we explore the history of musical theater by examining key Broadway shows and the ways they were shaped by and shaped American history. Shalom, I'm David Benkof, the Broadway Maven, and this video discusses Hair, the American tribal love rock musical, which burst onto the Broadway scene in 1968, capturing the spirit of the 1960s counterculture with its vibrant celebration of freedom, peace, and love. With music by Colt McDermott and lyrics and book by James Redo and Jerome Ragney, Hair is often considered the first rock musical, revolutionizing the genre with its groundbreaking integration of rock music and contemporary social issues within a traditional theater setting. When Hair premiered, America was facing immense social and political upheaval. The civil rights movement, anti-Vietnam War protests, and a burgeoning youth counterculture were challenging the status quo, questioning authority, and advocating for a radical shift in societal values. Hair reflected and fueled these changes by bringing the sounds and ideas of the hippie movement to the mainstream stage, giving voice to the frustrations and aspirations of a generation seeking change. Hair vividly captures the zeitgeist of the 1960s through its engaging narrative and dynamic characters, centering around the Tribe, a group of politically active, long-haired hippies based in New York City. These individuals, diverse in their backgrounds and united in their defiance, navigate the tumultuous landscape of a society gripped by the Vietnam War, civil unrest, and a radical cultural shift. Musically, Hair is unforgettable, featuring iconic songs like Aquarius, Let the Sunshine In, and Easy to Be Hard. These songs became anthems of the peace movement and helped to define the very genre of rock musicals. The opening number, Aquarius, set to an infectious melody, promises the dawning of a new age of love and understanding, encapsulating the overarching message of the show.
When the moon is in the seventh pole and Jupiter aligns with Mars, then peace will guide the planet and love will still dawn. This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius, the age of Aquarius.
The musical's emphasis on astrological signs, incidentally, coincided with the growing public interest in astrology during the late 1960s, a period in which the moon landing was at first a national goal and then an accomplishment. So at the heart of the story is Claude, a young man who faces an inner turmoil over whether to resist the draft, as his friends have done, or to succumb to societal pressures and serve in Vietnam, a conflict he morally opposes. His journey of self-discovery is intertwined with that of his friends Berger, the charismatic yet rebellious leader of the tribe, and Sheila, a passionate activist deeply involved in the anti-war movement. These main characters, along with the rest of the tribe, challenge the conservative values of their parents' generation and advocate for a life of love, peace, and freedom. Here, in the song Where Do I Go?, Claude reflects on the existential choice he faces. His indecision marks him clearly as a Hamlet figure, one of many Shakespeare references in this more sophisticated than it looks work.
Follow the river, where do I go? Follow the cause. Where is the something? Where is the someone that tells me why I live and die?
The song, which closes the first act, is followed by members of the tribe briefly appearing on stage in full frontal nudity, a shocking moment that sent a message of self-love and celebration of the human form and essence. As the narrative unfolds, the tribe engages in various forms of protest and personal expression. They celebrate their sexual freedom, experiment with drugs as a means of expanding consciousness, and confront racial prejudices both within and without their own community. The show's finale is a call for radical liberation in the context of societal repression. Let the sun shine in. Hair was deeply influenced by specific historical contexts and events from American history that were pivotal during the late 1960s. The Vietnam War deeply permeated the national consciousness and fueled widespread protest movements, particularly among the youth. The draft is a central element of the musical's plot, and Claude epitomizes the moral and existential dilemma faced by many young men of the time: to serve or not to serve. This conflict was reflective of the real-life anguish and division within American families and communities, as draft burning and evasion became symbols of protest against what was seen as an unjust war. The song 3500, which evokes the horrors of war and the visceral opposition to it, draws directly from the actual experiences and sentiments of anti-war protesters, making the musical a time capsule of this critical historical moment. Furthermore, the civil rights movement, which reached its peak in the 1960s, also significantly shaped Hair. The musical integrates a racially diverse cast and tackles issues of racial inequality head-on, mirroring the societal upheavals and push for civil rights during the era. Songs like I'm Black, Ain't Got No confront racial and economic disparities, echoing the sentiments and speeches of civil rights leaders who were advocating for justice and equality. Hair represents a significant evolution in the Broadway musical, contrasting sharply with earlier musicals like My Fair Lady and Oklahoma, which focused more on traditional narratives and character development. Unlike these earlier works, which often revolved around romantic or comedic plots, Hair immersed itself in the socio-political upheavals of its time, infusing its narrative with a rawness and relevance that mirrored the 1960s counterculture. This integration of rock music marked a radical departure from the orchestral scores typical of earlier shows like West Side Story. Although, like that musical, Hair also tackled themes of social injustice and cultural conflict. However, where shows like The Sound of Music presented more polished, idealistic portrayals of life and conflict, Hair offered a gritty, unfiltered view of society's underbelly, pushing boundaries with its overt discussions of race, war, and sexuality. This bold shift not only reflected changing societal values, but also set the stage for future productions that would continue to challenge and redefine the boundaries of musical theater. Hare's groundbreaking approach not only captivated audiences, but also set a new benchmark for what could be achieved in musical theater, directly influencing subsequent productions like Jesus Christ Superstar and Rent. Both musicals, like Hair, integrate contemporary music styles and tackle social issues head-on. Jesus Christ Superstar explores the struggles of the biblical Jesus through rock music, while Rent addresses modern issues such as AIDS, drug addiction, and poverty. This trend of weaving real-world problems into compelling narratives with rock music scores continues to shape Broadway, evident in modern shows like Dear Evan Hansen, which delves into the complexities of mental health and social media, and Hamilton, which combines hip-hop with historical narrative to explore America's founding through the lens of today's diverse society. Hair heralded a significant shift in Broadway from traditional book musicals to what would be recognized as the concept musical, where thematic expression prevails over linear storytelling. Its episodic structure, focusing on broad themes like peace and freedom, set a precedent for later works like Company and A Chorus Line, which further explored relationships and personal narratives through a thematic lens rather than a cohesive plot. Audiences and critics had a mixed response to Hair. While many hailed it as a groundbreaking work of art that captured the spirit of an era, others were shocked and offended by its frank treatment of sensitive topics. Hare's struggle against censorship played a pivotal role in the discussion of freedom of expression in the arts, as its content socially and legally tested the limits of what was considered acceptable in terms of theatrical expression at the time. Despite its challenges, Hair has remained a beloved musical theater piece, celebrated for its ability to engage with deep and divisive issues while providing a powerful, immersive musical experience. Hair was a cultural phenomenon that encapsulated the hopes and fears of a generation confronted by war, inequality, and changing norms. Its legacy endures as a testament to the power of musical theater to challenge, celebrate, and transform societal values. Please like and subscribe. MARQUEE, the Broadway Maven's weekly blast, comes out every Thursday. It includes piano talks, news, reviews, videos, Broadway blasts, quizzes, and more. Get MARQUEE for free and learn about all classes and projects at thebroadwaymaven.com. And here's an On Broadway playlist.